I just hit the recording button. You may or may not be asked to click something that says, yes, I agree that we are being recorded. It's simply for the purposes of being able to post these on our YouTube channel to, just again, try to get community involvement as much as possible, right? I do think when we do return to in-person format, which may be as soon as next month, we're going to continue to record them because again, this isn't the most, there's no time that's convenient for everyone. And speaking of convenient times for everyone, I want to say a personal thank you to James Solomon for joining our meeting tonight. Listen, man, your family keeps growing. I wanted to say congratulations on your new baby, Noel. How's it going, man? You all right?
Good, thank you, Eric. It's very kind. My older kids decided to sleep the night once the new baby came, so I'm
Perfect.
I know, very nice of them.
Perfect.
At least a week, it's been going well.
I'm just going to say that should probably not be a reason to keep having children. I'm just going to put that out there, unless that is your goal.
I don't know if it's too much information. We're at three is it. We're out.
But, great. I was going to say I got a guy. I got a doctor I trust very much. He does that thing. Good for you, man. Congratulations. I'm thrilled for you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so listen, we got a packed agenda tonight. I assume that more people are going to come on as the glitch that I'm going to take for my own, which was the link, which apparently was last year's link. So apologies to everyone. I did send out a new one. I do expect that there are going to be those that are going to join us slow and late, and the screen keeps growing as I talk. So that's great. The agenda tonight, we got several items. I wanted to, cut short my front end discussion, which we typically I want to say for the last 2 years, we've been doing what we call Jersey City updates and COVID updates. And I want to do the COVID updates tonight. I just want, everyone is aware what is expected of them. Everyone is aware that if you are like me, you work in an office that has gone mask optional. So you carry a mask just for public transportation, right? That's kind of where I am. I don't wear it when I walk to the PATH train in the open air. I wear it on the PATH train, and then I take it off when I get into New York City because I don't need it on the streets and I don't need it in my office. Lots of interesting, nuances to that, especially since new cases, including Joe Biden's press secretary, are popping up daily. So in any event, that's all I'm going to say about COVID. There are a number of Jersey City initiatives, and we are going to continue to post things and send out the email blasts that we've been sending. It's exciting time, right? Sunday was the first day of spring. So lots of cool events, lots of, wonderful community building opportunities coming up. And the weather is certainly supporting that. Again, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. I'm going to share my screen. The deck that I made tonight is rather light, if you will. It's couldn't be lighter, and that's simply because I think the content of what we have here. I don't want to look at slides. I want to talk to each other. So March 22nd, 2022. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Virtual Village Neighborhood Association meeting for March. This is our monthly community meeting. My name is Eric Hoffman. I am the president of the VNA for 2022. These are your esteemed board members, many of whom are joining this call tonight. I'd like to run through the agenda. JC and general updates. That's what you just heard. We're gonna call it there because I would like to get to the hot items on the agenda. My friend and neighbor, Mr. James Lee and Rob Howley are going to give a brief Safe Streets JC presentation. They are spearheading a campaign to keep our streets safe, as we know Mr. Solomon is. And then I'd like to jump into the Q&A, if you will. I left it as a kind of an open forum Q&A. James, if there's anything you want to lead with, by all means, the floor will be yours. We want to talk with Tony, 361 2nd Street variance request. We want to see a little later in the evening, they will join us at about 8:15, the development presentation for 270 Newark Avenue. And then if there's anything you all want to say, you are free to say it. So without any further ado, I'd like to jump in. And James, if you have anything you want to share deck wise, or if you just want to talk, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we actually do have a deck. So if you would, it's a small deck, but if you could give us file sharing or screen sharing permissions. Oh, nope, I have it. Never mind. Oh no, it's disabled. No, it's still disabled. Sorry.
All right, my man, Mr. Joe Vita, if you could kindly, thank you.
Thank you so much. Make this, just go ahead and share that. Oh, sorry, new laptop. I'm so sorry. 1 sec.
You're fine, bud.
It's, all right, I gotta rejoin. Or actually, Rob, are you able to screen share potentially?
No.
Hey, James, you want to email it to me? I'll pop it up.
Yeah, I think yeah, I gotta leave and rejoin, and then I think it'll be good. 1 sec.
Okay. Ooh, in the meantime, I see Iraida is joining. Claire, you want to say hello?
Hi.
You can't go wrong with kids waving at people. Sorry. If it's filling dead air, you need a child waving at people. Can't go wrong.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Iraida. See, look, Iraida's waving at you, Claire. She's just waving at you.
Dad.
All right. Cool. I think.
All right, we got you now, bud.
All right, sweet. Okay, all right. So yeah, glad to be here in a different capacity. And yeah, we've been for this year, we're actually reviving an organization that has been in Jersey City and has done a lot of really great work to work with the city, work with Bike JC, work with the council to improve safety in Jersey City. And excited to tell you that the village is very well represented. So Rob is serving as treasurer and I am serving as president. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Rob to talk a little bit about what we do. So.
All right, so a few years ago, oh, hi there, I'm Rob. Nice to kind of meet you. So a few years ago, Jersey City passed what's called Vision Zero. It's a goal to, eliminate traffic deaths. It sounds maybe fanciful to some, but just look like a mile over. Hoboken has done it. I don't see why we shouldn't either. So we have, as a city, done some things toward it, but the whole premise of Safe Streets existence is that there's more work to be done. Next, I don't have control. So there are a lot of different ways you can tackle this problem. A lot of them come down to sort of like the traditional approach is labeled as sort of just like giving up and saying, you know what, some people are going to die on the road, and maybe if drivers are perfect and they take responsibility for themselves, then we can like cut down on that. And that treats it as that offloads the entire burden onto the driver, which frankly is foolish but also just unfair. You've been behind, like we've all been behind the wheel. Like it's very hard. No one's perfect. Sometimes you can't see things. Conditions are tough. Vision Zero is premised more on, I like that fourth item, the systems approach, where we can say that this is in part an engineering solution, that we can design our roads such that you can cut down on deaths and hopefully, eliminate eliminate deaths, at least at the local level. We don't control the interstates. What are you gonna do? Next. So despite better acknowledgement of the problem, vehicle deaths are going the wrong way. They're actually up. They're up both within the city and across the state. I didn't realize the number was as high as it was until James put these slides together. And how many did we have in Jersey City last year, James?
We had 14. So usually there's 9 or 10, but unfortunately last year was a really bad year. So kind of the epidemic of reckless driving and not enough protections has also hit Jersey City.
So we can do things about it, at least again, locally. Next. So our preferred solution, the engineering approach, is usually referred to as street calming. It has this really simple premise. It's that if you look at that middle picture, roads are big, wide, and open, much bigger than is needed, and people drive like it. If you have a big, wide open road, you can go really fast on it and be kind of careless. But if you look at it's called a snack down, it's sort of the remaining road when it snows. The actual amount of road that cars need is very small. If you look at the far right, that's actually on 2nd Street down the block from me, that is set up a small section of road that is set up as a 2-way, but no one makes that right off of Monmouth. So the snow reveals that really is just one direction being used. Or on the far left side, by the Domino's, I think would be on the left. So there's a huge point that comes out of snow coming off of 1st Street, hitting Newark. So that's just a big wide open space that could be turned over to pedestrians and would restrict the space that cars have. And if you've driven through a smaller space before, you will drive slowly, be more alert and cautious. And then if you look at or near the crosswalk, there's a lot of space that on a day when it's not snowing, you'll find that cars just pull into the crosswalk, whether it's Uber drivers or like UPS or FedEx, etc. The crosswalk gets treated as basically a loading zone, which is obviously not the point. And I know I've personally been crossing with my daughter on her bike at times when the cars have decided that they're going to pull in there, to make a quick stop. So that takes us to our next item. These engineering solutions already exist. You hear different terms for them: bulb outs, bump outs, curb extensions. I personally usually say bump outs, but they're all the same thing. The idea is formalize this construct. We don't need the snow to do it. We have paint and concrete and stuff like that. So if you want to have pedestrians be protected when they're crossing the street, well, then make sure that the crosswalk is open. If you want the streets to be narrower, so people drive a little slower, but not actually take away any driving space from the cars, you have this bump out that you'll see as the bike lane is on the inside of the cars, which is another great design feature. But the sectioned off area with the little flex posts goes out to the far end of where the cars park. So that closes off that area, so the crosswalk isn't supposed to be temporary parking. The street's now narrower, and you have space for bikes, pedestrians, and all road users. So, I mean, the best solution is to have some of this in concrete, because you can walk around the neighborhood and see what happens to flex posts. But at least visually signals to the drivers that, like, hey, this is not a space to conquer. Next. And then a thing that is showed up in the prior slide: separate bike lanes aren't just like a handout to bikers. I know some people can get pretty grouchy about them, but these are proven methods to reduce traffic fatalities, because you take the bikes out of traffic, which is obviously good. It incentivizes more bike usage, but actually reduces traffic, because people that would otherwise be driving are now biking because it's easier and safer. And they create a de facto bump out. So you're doing traffic calming. So it's like slowing cars down, or at least like keeping them more focused. You're getting non-cars out of the middle of the street, and you're giving everyone a reason to not drive. So those that have to drive have a lot less traffic to deal with. Kind of a win-win across the board. And a lot of studies have confirmed that even as bike, like in Portland, the number of bike commuters went way up, but fatalities went way down, which should seem counterintuitive. But over that period, they put out a lot of protected bike lanes. So we can engineer our way to Vision Zero if we just have the political will to do so. Next. One that's harder from the Jersey City level. There's a graphic that we did not include that shows like the likelihood of dying if you're hit by a car at different speeds. It's a pretty gruesome. Oh no, there's like a fun picture with like little stick figures, but yeah. So as the cars go faster, your chances of dying are obviously way higher. And people don't like getting speeding tickets, and people also don't like getting hit by cars and killed by them. So speed cameras are very effective. And I know there's like a bad history of the red light cameras that made the state ban them, but now they banned like all camera enforcement. When speed cameras are pretty cut and dry. If you're going too fast, they mail you a ticket, and that deterrent is an automated solution, so we don't have to rely on staffing up the police force or coming up with a new agency to enforce traffic. Just put a couple cameras around, people drive a little slower, and then even if there are accidents, the likelihood that you have someone die is way lower. So that's a state level problem. It's one that at this city level we can contact our state reps, maybe get some support from our local officials, and try and petition for even like a pilot program in the denser urban areas, because a lot of people don't have cars in Jersey City. It's actually in some neighborhoods it is the minority of households that have a car. So having our streets be even marginally safer is good across the board for the city.
And apologies, there's a mistake. We were going to present last month. The speed camera meeting actually also got moved. It's April 7th at 6 p.m. at City Hall, and Mayor Phillip will be there. Senator Cunningham will be there, among others. So yeah, still happening, still in the future, but wrong slide. Yeah, I guess I'll dive into another really big topic that we're working on together with statewide groups. You may have heard, you may have seen in the news, the Turnpike Authority in New Jersey is planning a $4.7 billion expansion to the Turnpike extension, which runs from Newark and all along the length of Jersey City to the Holland Tunnel. We're absolutely opposed. The first phase of the project is to replace and repair the Newark Bay Bridge. That's fine, but they also want to expand capacity. And one of the terrible things about this is that it is a lot of money, state money that could go to a lot of better uses, including for mass transit, education, or any number of things that would be more positive for society. But also, the whole idea of what they're trying to do to sell it, this idea that, one more lane will fix traffic, that's just not true. There's this iron law of induced traffic demand that's been studied in highways all throughout the country and elsewhere. If you add another lane, it'll be good for like a year or two, and then there will be more traffic that will fill those lanes. And one example would be, adding like the Liberty State Park Bridge, right? Obviously, that can lead to more traffic, right? And it makes some routes faster, but making all the routes faster will actually generate more traffic. That's almost right. It won't make things necessarily faster. And so some people have found, like, even though that route is available, when you're trying to drive through, it may actually be a more backed up route at different times, depending.
James,
Yep.
Sorry to jump in.
Yep.
And I'm sorry that I don't know this. I need to do my due diligence on it. But what's driving this?
Yeah. So I have what's driving the $4.7 billion?
What's driving the desire to widen the turnpike?
Yeah, I have a slide on that, the next one. And
All right.
so, like they're trying to sell, obviously Jersey City is like, okay, you've already destroyed, communities from decades past. This is a bad idea. New York doesn't want this traffic. They will have congestion pricing coming up. They're trying to they have this campaign to fix Canal Street. They're saying there's too much traffic coming out of the Holland Tunnel. We want less. We want a safe place for our kids, for our city, right? For buses, for everything, right? And why is New Jersey doing this, right? Well, the Turnpike Authority is actually an independent authority. They do not need federal dollars for this project, right? And they run themselves as this quasi corporation, right? And what does that mean exactly? Corporations, it's not necessarily bad, right? But they literally on their website have two KPIs. One is they want to grow the number of vehicles. Two, they want to grow the amount of revenue collected. Now let's think about that for just a second here. The Turnpike Authority does not run itself for the benefit of New Jersey. It does not run itself for the benefit of society. In fact, they don't like buses. Every time someone gets on a bus and does not pay the full toll on the Turnpike, that's a loss for them. They want to drive revenue and drive the number of vehicles. That is their goal. They want to expand this because they want more traffic. They want to see more traffic and they want more money. They want more toll revenue collected. There's other things that, at my level, I don't, have access to or understand necessarily in terms of the whole ecosystem of kind of construction and contracts and, just building just to, make money. And that's another world. And that can be another contributing aspect. I think there's a lot of really good projects that can be done in terms of mass transit, good paying jobs that can be done to contribute to Jersey City and beyond through that. The kids in Jersey City and Newark have, breathed bad air for way too long. They don't care. On a state level, Governor Murphy has supported this idea of environmental justice. It's a very good idea. What it means is if a community has a high number of minorities or economically disadvantaged, you cannot just build another power plant. That's not allowed. Like it has to pass this extra review and the permits may not be granted. However, when it comes to a highway, there is this stationary air pollution permit, right? But even though any kid will tell you, if I stand next to the highway, it smells bad. There's dirty air, there's brake dust, there's tire dust, right? Any kid will tell you it doesn't feel good here. The air's bad, right? But in New Jersey, highways do not need air pollution permits. Doesn't count. Like the cars are moving. So it's not you don't need a stationary air permit. Right now, it is in the second year of an environmental review process. And this environmental review process is basically for like birds, like wetlands, right? Like, it does not consider humans. Humans are not on the list. I want an environment that considers endangered species. I think all of you do too, but I think we also need to consider humans and we don't make the list when it comes to highways. And so that's kind of, they want to grow revenue. They don't have necessarily like the oversight of like the EPA or something like that. And just in terms of the political structure of this project, I think, everybody we talk to in Jersey City, there's a lot of things that are good, but are controversial in Jersey City. This is not that. 100% of people we talk to do not like this project, right? Ultimately, Governor Murphy is the decision maker. They have an independent board for the Turnpike Authority, but any items on the agenda can be vetoed completely by the governor. He doesn't need the legislature. He doesn't need New York's help. He doesn't need federal government help, nothing. It's Governor Murphy. So, just to wrap things up, because I know we have a lot on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah. So, if you're interested in this, please sign up for our mailing list.
Is there a way you can share this deck, James?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll email you right after.
Okay. For anybody that has asked for this deck. Can you send me an email? Or we can figure out how to post a link to it, but yeah, we'll help get this out.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much. And yeah, well, I hope to hear from you all. All right. We'll end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, it's funny, as I was listening to you describe this desire to widen the turnpike, I've thought about this just kind of from an infrastructure standpoint, and it just seems a little odd to me, but that's the first time that I'd heard that somebody was looking at the other side of the tunnel as a way of sort of dealing with this, because it's like a funnel, right? I mean, you pour a bunch of liquid in a funnel or a bunch of sugar in a funnel, and it eventually just pours back out because the funnel itself isn't this wide; it's this wide, right? So that's seems a little bonkers to me. But anyway,
100%.
enough editorializing
before
from me. Go ahead, please.
Close out of this topic, right? Do you guys have any diagrams or anything showing exactly where the proposal is to increase within the village area of Jersey City? Like by the park? Is it by the park where the kids play in front of the school?
Yes, so absolutely. So their idea, so there's a diagram. It has phase 1 through phase 4. It should be, I think, phase 3, but in any case, the answer is yes. Parts of it, they say, oh, it's not a lane, it's a shoulder. But we also know that they use shoulders as lanes. And it doesn't matter, it's going to be like a ton of money, a lot of construction. Even the construction is going to cause a lot of pollution in the area. My understanding is the lead on the playgrounds in Mary Benson Park came from the turnpike, came from the paint in the turnpike in the past. And, who knows what'll be dug up and added to the soil if they do more.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, James, Rob. Appreciate your time. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties. We got off to a late start. I'd like to keep things rolling. James, Mr. Solomon, if you are still there, we'd love to welcome you back and say hello. I want to say again, thank you and congratulations on the maximum capacity of your family. I hope Noelle is a joy to you. She's beautiful. We saw the photos. Congratulations, my friend. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you to James and Rob for very thoughtful presentation and their advocacy. Safe streets for about, a year to 2 years have been a little dormant, but as their data shows, the need for their advocacy is incredibly important. So I'm very, very grateful you guys are picking up the mantle and doing this work. I don't have any, sort of big updates. So I thought it would be better to just do Q&A and just hear what's on your guys' minds, especially running a little bit late.
No, agreed. That's wonderful.
Your questions can be very big and broad to get me to give you kind of bigger updates on things that are happening with the city. So I will just turn it over to everybody and both for, let Eric moderate and have the chat open and, take your questions.
Yes, and sorry, as we enter into this phase of this discussion, I just want to say a caveat that I should have said at the very beginning of the meeting. You have all agreed to join this meeting, which means you've all agreed to our rules of conduct, which basically means be civil, be kind. We're here for spirited discussions. Spirited discussions are fine, but again, let's be civil and enjoy this dialogue that we have.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you, James.
I knew you would, Lou.
Giving the previous presentation, how hard is it for the city to drop the speed limit on some of the smaller roads? So I was thinking, hey, we 25 miles an hour is the speed limit in Jersey City, and that's great for Kennedy Boulevard, Newark Avenue, but what about on streets like First, Second, Monmouth, Brunswick? What if you were to drop the speed limit to 15, which isn't unreasonable? And how hard is it to do that? Is that like some kind of okay, we got to go through some enormous traffic study, or can it just be done? That kind of thing.
Great question. I don't know I can't give you a definitive answer because I have to ask our law department, but my gut would be that this is simply an ordinance the city can pass. So I don't think that there would be that many hurdles would have to go through to be able to lower the speeds on side streets, but I would need to double check in case that there are some state laws around speed limit changes that I'm unaware of that we would have to jump through. And I think it's a great idea. I think, you know, we would want to think about, I think, a thoughtful rollout if we do it, because just changing it on a city ordinance isn't going to in practice change people's behavior. So I think we'd want to do it in a way where we really had a lot of public discussion and communication and advocacy, so people would understand why we're doing it, and that hopefully implements their behavior. But we'll take a look at it, and we'll get back to you on what the steps we would need to take to make it happen.
I mean, I don't know, Rob, Rob, you were talking about, in the presentation about, ways to do this. I mean, do you guys from, the Vision Zero committee there, do you feel that that's a good idea, or is it a bad idea? Does it help?
I'd say it absolutely helps. In fact, Hoboken actually has a campaign that's 20 is plenty. Again, Hoboken, they've been able to truly achieve Vision Zero, and I think the councilman is also right in that, like, if we do have this lowered speed limit, there has to be both education about it and enforcement about it. It's simple physics, maybe not that simple. I'm not that good at physics, but right, like it's quadratic, right, with the speed. And so it's really unfortunate, but even though it seems like 10 to 20, 20 to 30, but if you double the speed, that's 4 times the amount of energy that's going to a very frail human body, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, 20 is plenty is something that, is, for example, something that we could, think about as also adopting, which is common in Europe and also Hoboken.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Danny.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy Tuesday, James. The first question was, wait, you still teach at St. Pete's, right?
Go Peacocks.
Yeah. No one's saying we can't go. Green City's on the map. We coming up. We can't be, letting that go over our heads.
Well played, Danny.
Yeah. But the first question was, have you heard anything from Rich at, I guess, JCMUA about the 6th Street pump station? I tried emailing him, but he never responded. I think a few months ago I asked Eric for his contact, but I haven't heard anything. And it's almost that season. I built a little barrier for my when I was doing my renovations that I had no plans on doing, but my wife and I said, since we were doing all this work, let's try and do something just in case to, try and stop the flow. We didn't get flooded during Ida, thank God, but it was close. So wanted to see if there were any updates on that.
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, because sometimes I don't have good news to share, but in this case, I have great news to share, which is that construction of the 6th Street pump is ongoing as we speak. For those who aren't aware, what the MUA and the city are doing is we're building a pump at 6th Street on the water, which will help pump water out of the combined sewer, so that when flooding occurs, we're able to get more water out into the river, and we don't have as much of a backup in the sewer system, which then creates some of the terrible flooding that we see. And if anyone has seen 5th and Monmouth during a couple of the storms, it turns into a lake. And we've changed the sewer, so now that the sewer on Monmouth at 5th and Monmouth is going up to 6th, and then the pump will be pumping water out on 6th. So it's in the middle of construction. The original timeline I got was a 6-month process, and I know they started in the fall. So we're on our way, and hopefully we'll be done, before June or July.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Okay. And my second question was, you still live on 4th, right?
I do. I moved a block. I'm now on 4th between Monmouth and Brunswick.
Okay, because I haven't seen you in so long. I'm like, where is this guy?
I know. I walk up Brunswick, drop the kids off now.
I would see you going up Monmouth up and down pacing all day, every day.
Well, that was campaign side too.
Yeah. So my second question was, I know that everyone that lives along that corridor, the corridor that I live in, you know, during evenings and early mornings, we had that issue with the traffic due to, I guess, the bridge being open. I know you guys had shut it down or did something, but I know they spent a fortune, I guess, on putting that together. And so I just wanted to know, like, are they going to try and open this back up, and are we going to see that increase in traffic again, or what's the like long-term plan for that situation? Because that was like, I wouldn't even leave the house at times, like, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah. So just again, if everyone has the full context, you know, back if folks remember, started a little bit over the summer and then was really bad in the fall. We had just terrible traffic heading to the Holland Tunnel, particularly bad on Sunday nights, but you know, bad during the mornings and other evenings as well. It's dissipated a little bit. I'm not fully sure why. The city tried a couple different things. We banned left turns on Columbus in the mornings. We closed the Jersey Avenue Bridge northbound, but we haven't been doing any of those things since December. All of those efforts are not in place. But we did hire a consultant. His name is John Jar, and he's been studying the downtown traffic patterns as well as some of the stuff over by Tonnelle Circle and 19, because they're having some construction changes in traffic patterns there. He presented some preliminary findings at Van Voorst Park last week because they were specifically interested in the Jersey Avenue Bridge, but he's continuing to work on it. And for what I think is kind of the takeaway for all of us is, in the coming months, he should be giving us implementation ideas, ways to adjust light timing, traffic patterns, improvements to pedestrian safety, just in generally to improve traffic in downtown. And then specifically, if those really bad traffic jams reappear over the summer, we have a sort of plan we can implement to try to address them. So we do have someone working on it, and we should be getting some very specific recommendations coming back in the coming months.
It's been much better. I mean, I haven't seen it look like anything that we had, you know, in the summer or fall.
Yeah,
I thought it was something that was implemented, but like you said, it hasn't been anything like that.
We did. I should say that we did adjust some of the light timing around Columbus, where when you come off onto Brunswick and over on Jersey and Grand. So those light timing changes are still in effect, which had some impact. But I do honestly, I don't know why it improved so much. You know, it coincided with Omicron, but obviously Omicron is past us, you know, knock on wood. So I'm not 100% sure, but we're sort of, you know, monitoring and have a plan in place if it does arise again.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Howley, did you have something for James?
Yeah, so the biggest game changer I've seen over the last couple of years were like making streets a little bit safer and not as terrifying was all the stop signs on Jersey Avenue. How do we get those everywhere? Like I can think of some intersections that would be reasonable starting points, like first in Brunswick with people speeding by like the daycare and there's nowhere to cross. Like,
yes, can I piggyback on that, James? Your office was very proactive and reached out and asked various, you know, neighborhood leaders, et cetera, or whomever, you know, opinions. And I had sent the document back, and I basically, to Rob's point, I basically requested a stop sign at just about every intersection that didn't have one. And my sort of the bigger ask was at 3rd Street, where it comes down and hits Newark at that awkward angle that either become a traffic light or a no left turn. And I know these are long processes, but I'm just wondering if following on Rob's question, if you can sort of let us know where that stands.
Sure. I agree with Rob that, you know, the stop signs aren't a panacea, but they do make a big difference. That most cars at least slow. They should stop, but they at least slow. And you see much fewer of the T-bone crashes where, you know, a car is kind of blowing through an intersection and the other car is, you know, edging out, and then just safer for pedestrians as well. We have a list that we sent to our traffic and engineering team to review, and some of the ones that Eric had sent, you know, I think 4th and Coles, 3rd and Coles, 4th and Monmouth are all on that list awaiting review. And the traffic department uses sort of state standards to determine whether a stop sign is warranted. They also can, you know, use their judgment as well. I have mentioned to them the idea that should we just explore within the sort of downtown grid? So, 10th Street all the way down to Grand Street, and, Brunswick all the way to, could take it all the way to the water. If we should just put stop signs at every intersection and create a sort of standardized process where if you don't have a signal, you'll have a stop sign. And they have said they're willing to study that as sort of a, downtown wide change. But they haven't started that process yet. Some of our main traffic engineer left in October, and his name is Andrew Viscio. He's been replaced by Jen Cato. Jen's doing wonderfully, but that created a lot of turnover. So we're sort of just restarting some of the processes and studies that would have been ongoing. So the short answer is a couple of those intersections in the village are on the list to be studied, and we should be getting answers from traffic and engineering within the next month or two. And then the sort of 2022 project is to ask them to think big picture. Should we just create a stop section at every intersection downtown?
Rob,
Is are some of the is that the data they use for the analysis, is that publicly available? And what's the decision criteria by which they decide a intersection gets a stop sign or not? Like, how do we learn about this?
Yeah, so I don't know all the criteria, but I can give you the basics. It's under state guidelines, whatever the state statute is, and it's called a warrant analysis. And I know they look at traffic volume, so they do traffic counts, and they generally don't recommend stop signs if one of the two streets has significantly greater traffic than another street. So they didn't recommend one for Monmouth and First, which I know many people on this call have asked for, because there was so much more volume on Monmouth. They said it actually creates a hazard. They do a crash analysis, so they'll look at the crash data, and then they'll do sort of a geography analysis. Are you next to a school? Are you next to a park? That type of a thing. So in my experience, they have recommended or denied a stop sign because of traffic volumes, because of crash history, and because of proximity to schools and parks. And there might be other criteria I'm not aware of that's written in these state guidelines.
hey, Rob, James's office was very, very extremely helpful in the stop sign that I'll take credit for on Fifth and Monmouth. I would say to you, if there are accidents I don't know what particular corner you're dealing with, if there are accidents there, he needs help. So what you need to give him are videos. I gave them about 3 or 4 videos, and they can't deny that. So like once they saw the videos of the actual, because like I live on the corner, once I sent them actual videos of accidents occurring, like it's like, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna continue to let this occur, or are you gonna stop it? And they made it. It happened rather quickly from once I started sending the videos. I'll be honest with you. And James's office was really great with that. And it's been safe here. And because I'm home most of the time, and I would hear it. I haven't, honest God willing, there won't be any more. But I haven't, heard it even during COVID or any of that stuff. So there used to be T-bones. There used to be all sorts of things going on Fifth and Monmouth, and that has stopped since that stop sign has been. So send videos.
We'll do.
All right, if I can jump in, just time-wise, moderation, I'm gonna ask for 3 more questions, 2 of which are already in the queue. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and let me know. No, it's not in your queue, James. These are direct messages. So, because again, we've got 361 and 270 that I would really like to get to this evening. So, Mr. Farrell, you're up.
Hey, thanks. Hey, James. Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you.
Quickly, 3. You don't have to take them all if they're going to be too long. But the first one is, we were told, last year that 2nd, 3rd streets east of Brunswick were going to be paved because they never had been, and that was supposed to happen, I think, last fall or something. So if you can update us on what's happening with that. And the other 2 questions I had, I saw on planning this Monday night, they're having all hearings about the marijuana dispensaries, and there's counted 7 or 8 applications for dispensaries between Grove Street and I guess up towards the courthouse. I want to know whether there's any limitation on that, or they're going to limit the number. And then this one you can probably save for later. We can touch on it. I was just curious on the street sweeping. I sense that when is that pilot going to be over? I guess there's a difference of opinion, but some people are saying the streets are definitely a little more messier and dirty with only the once a week. But the first 2, I guess, would be where I would ask you to focus: the paving and the if you have any quick thought, because Monday's the marijuana dispensary hearings.
Sure. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate the kind words. So on the paving, I'm just going to attribute this to one of the coincidences of Jersey City, but none of downtown's roads that were requested in 2021 got repaved, but the other 5 wards did. Just life happens that way sometimes in election years. But I have told the city that they were missed those roads, and they've promised to do them as first thing in the paving season. So 2nd Street and 3rd Street should be repaved in April. So I'll hopefully get an exact date for you guys, but that will be coming. Street sweeping pilot, just very briefly, we sort of passed the ordinance, so it's sort of in effect. And we sort of set this sort of study time right roughly around 6 months, but it's not going to end at 6 months. It's basically at 6 months is when we're reevaluating. But I sent out the link in my newsletter, and I can put a link in the chat so folks can sign up if they didn't get my newsletter. But send us your feedback on what you think the effects are. And we want to give it 6 months to really see how well it works and its effectiveness. And for marijuana, the city law establishes a distance limit between where dispensaries can be. And off the top of my head, I think dispensaries have to be 800 feet apart, but then micro businesses, which are the smaller versions of dispensaries, can be 400 feet apart. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to go back to the ordinance to remember the exact limits. But there's no numerical limit. It's a distance limit. So the idea is, you don't want 4 on a single block, particularly right around the path. We didn't want 4 or 5 dispensaries all congregated in a 1 block area. But we also didn't want to create limits because limits, I think, create a real political, a real chance for, kind of shady politics and picking the winners and losers, who gets a dispensary license and who doesn't. So we sort of wanted to allow for, market to sort of determine the need. So that's sort of the current laws, and I can get you, the specific details and send them your way so you have them.
Hey, James, I don't mean to jump in, but to add to Peter's question there about the dispensaries,
Yep.
How many of those dispensaries are multi-state operators? Because that's something I'd like to understand, because, in states throughout the country, you have these licenses that go up for grabs, and many, many, many times it's these multi-million-dollar multi-state operators that get them. So, how many of it are the local businesses? How many of it are minorities that really get them, and not these huge conglomerates and corporations like Verano, Harvest, Cresco? These are all big names in the cannabis industry. So I'm just curious, do you know how many of, those, are multi-state operators, or just local people trying to, start a business?
Yeah, so the state law tried to distinguish between the two by creating a category called a micro business, which is, don't quote me on this because it's stuff that I think, but I haven't read it in every detail. But I believe that you cannot qualify as a micro business if you're a multi-state operator. And the law, and we wrote the city zoning to try to be more favorable to the micro businesses, to allow more of them to open and operate. It's less capital needed to open the business and to start. With that said, I know some of the approaches of the multi-state operators is to partner with local folks, so they're able to have a sort of local face to the applications and the work that they're doing. And then the city, as a city, we haven't approved any of these applications yet. Obviously, the first batch just came in. They're going to be going before the planning board. I think that we have a new cannabis control board that will be hearing them. So we're going to start to see, basically, to answer your question with actual data, we're now going to see, based on the applicants that come in. The state process, as I understand it, is just opening as well. So in the next month, we should have all the applications and be able to give you a definitive answer there.
Okay. Just curious. And yeah, I know how that works with the MSOs going in and working with local guys. Right. And it's really because the license is everything. I mean, all of the investment that has occurred the past, let's say, couple of years in the cannabis space has been in retail and cultivation. And cannabis is a massive market, so that just tells you how valuable that retail license is.
Right.
All right, I got to jump in here because again, we've missed you guys for the last 2 months, so we overpacked this agenda tonight. So I want to be respectful of everyone that's here. I have two more questions, and then I'm going to make a statement that's going to answer the third question that I have. So Stephanie, Mrs. Kwape, please, you got the floor.
Thank you so much. And hi, James. Congratulations on your baby girl.
Thank you.
I have a traffic question as well. It's around Holland Tunnel, Marine Boulevard, where you turn right
Yes.
into 12th Street, I believe. And the traffic lights, unfortunately, they still operate across the entire road, even though turning right would be permitted. And so it ends up being a whole lot of traffic when people are not realizing that they can actually go through that lane that doesn't have, there's no need to stop there. So I wonder if there's anything that can be done either by the Port Authority, I don't know who operates that area, to just let people know that you can turn right at any point.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
I don't know if you sent this to us already or it was a different constituent, but we did send it to our traffic team. I checked in with them at the beginning of March. So it's on their agenda. They will likely have to clear it with Port Authority because they have jurisdiction right around there. But we're going to try to put up some signs in the next month or two to indicate that that right lane can just turn without following the traffic light that's there at 12.
Okay, perfect. Great. Yeah, it's been like that for a while. So I'm glad that you're looking to change that in March. Oh, well, it's March now.
Yeah, a couple months.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thanks.
Fair. Thank you for that. Mr. Stamatis. You're
Thank
up,
you,
my friend.
sir. And Eric, feel free to nip this in the bud if it's too broad. Thanks for joining, Councilman Solomon. About half of a year into my downtown JC tenure, and if this isn't too repetitive for the group, I'd be curious to know, as you're thinking a month, 3 months, a year, what are some of the key priorities or initiatives that you're looking to deliver?
Sure. No, I mean, it's a great question, and it's
Dude, that's the perfect question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great big picture thinking. So I think the first thing for me is I really want to get a new elementary school built downtown. There's one that we're trying to get built over at First and Marin. It's run into some hurdles. It may come back, it may not, but either way, I just, given the growth of families in downtown and the development that's planned in the next 5 years and the number of units that are going to be coming, I really want to make sure as many families as possible stay downtown, not just here for a couple of years before moving to the suburbs. And I think an elementary school would go a long way towards doing that. So that is one of my core priorities. Second one is what we've talked about with Rob and James and everyone, is street safety. It's downtown's a pedestrian place, but every single person I know who's lived in downtown has had at least a close call crossing the street. And so I think our streets must be safer and accessible for all users, so bicyclists, pedestrians, and drivers. And so, I hope we're going to build protected bike lanes on Marin, Columbus, Newark Avenue, and continue, I think, progress that's been made to make the streets safer than certainly when I first started walking them roughly a decade ago. And then I think the third thing is just broadly, it's making sure that the development that we have, as much as possible, brings both infrastructure and affordability. It's not perfect. There's complicated, sets of approvals from decades ago, but I think downtown should be a place where everyone lives, which means we need to build affordable homes for people. And it needs to be a place that has open space, schools, and stormwater infrastructure to keep it livable. So it's doing my best to make the development match that vision. So those are the three big ones.
What is the Jewish New Year?
Thank you, James. I appreciate that. All right. So we need to move on. There's a question about the recent BOE budget approval. It's in the chat.
Hey, Mike, I'll reach out to you and I'll chat with you about it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Right, and guys, I'm gonna go with the newborn. So thank you.
Yeah,
everybody.
go.
Eric.
Bye. Thanks,
Everybody.
James. You're the best, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. So Neil, you had a question about Mary Benson Park. I just want to tell you, I'm not at liberty to give you any specifics, but there's some really good things happening. Please trust me on this.
Okay.
There's some really good things happening that are like I'm more hopeful than I've been in. I would love to say a decade, but I've only lived here for 7 years, so I'm going to call it 7 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, there are
Looking forward to it.
Yes, there's some exciting things afoot. you know, working on monies, working on designs, RFPs, getting architects, the whole thing. So I feel like, you know, the whole time the Village Neighborhood Association has been trying to, along with, you know, longstanding constituents and residents in the village, you know, that have been spearheading projects like this. This is looking better than it ever has. So hold tight. Coming soon. You know, we hope to give a big splash on where this is going. But again, you know, it's a process. It's the city. It's not going to be immediate, but so far things are looking real good.
Sure. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Tony, you guys have been extraordinarily patient. I appreciate it. What I'd like to do is say welcome to Mr. Joe Cauda and the Tonys. I believe your email comes in as Tony, so not intending to be disrespectful by referring to you as Tony, but I believe we've got Joe and Tony who are going to talk to us about what they'd like to see at 361 2nd Street.
Hi, my name is Joe Cauda, and actually both of the Tonys are here, two business partners. They intend to apply to the zoning board for a variance to put a pizzeria on the first floor of 361 2nd Street. It was previously a kitchen of some sort, I think, prep kitchen. And
yeah, that's right.
Just the sound keeps coming in and out. I didn't know if it's me or from your end, so I'm sorry if I sound disjointed. So I have the two Tonys here who are the owners of the property at 361 2nd Street. The property is presently, it has two apartments. The ground floor permits retail and cafe style restaurants, which don't have a hood. And the variances that we're requesting is to permit the restaurant that does have a hood. And I'll turn it over to either one of the Tonys just to explain how they got to be in this situation where they need to request a variance for their business. Tony B or Tony S?
I'm Tony S. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, great. How is everyone this evening? Thank you for listening with us. We had our original location. We were on Grove Street, and we were victims of a fire.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, the day before Thanksgiving. It was about 8 years ago. The whole building came down. It was an electrical fire that started in one of the apartments.
It was above you, right?
Yes, it was above us.
Yeah.
Took the two buildings down, our building and the building next door. So we were forced to find something quickly so we can stay in business. So we moved to the spot we're in now, which is on the corner of Jersey and Columbus. It's really not a good fit for us. It's a very old building. The landlord won't really help us with anything. He won't give us a lease. We bought this other building hoping that we can move our business there. We've had some issues trying to get on the meeting list for the variance, to change the variance with the COVID and all the delays. So in the meantime, we rented the space out, but it was a temporary rental for these people that are in the space now. But I mean, we really need to get into our spot over there. We can't function here. It's like I said, it's very old. We can't put any money into the place because we don't have a lease, and it's just not a good situation. And we're hoping we can get into our building. We put a lot of money into the building to fix it up, and it wouldn't really take too much work. There was already a hood previously in there, so the fan is already on the roof. The connection's already there. We would just have to finish building it out. So we're hoping we can get the variance to do that and move into our own building.
Thank you, Tony. Would it help if I present the plans?
Yes, Yes, please, Joe.
Oh.
That would be helpful.
Sure. First, here, sorry, just let me find it. Oh, wait.
My man, Joe Vita, can you give him, Joe Cauda, permission to present? Pretty please.
Yep, should be good now.
Okay. Okay, so
We got you now, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah.
okay, so right here, the architectural plans, which there's going to be very minimal changes to the building. If you go first up here in the top right, there's a zoning comparison chart. This property is in the R5 zone, and because it permits residences and a cafe. Really, the only variance, other than a couple, well, I'll mention the minor things first. The site has some nonconformities just because of how the building was built, probably before there was even zoning. Like in the rear yard, a 30-foot setback is required. There's only 24 and a half feet because that's how the building was. It was purchased that way. It's probably been there for 50 to 100 years. And there's we would be requesting a slight variance for building coverage because 70% is the maximum. The restaurant's going to have an outside freezer, concrete pad, and Bilco doors, and that takes us 3.94% above the permitted building coverage. And I would have to defer Tony whether this concrete padding was already there when they bought the place. I'll ask him. Actually, Tony, you there? Can you describe just what work you've done to the building?
Okay, we changed the whole front and the whole siding. We put like cement board in the side of the building, if you see, and the side too. We put all brick in the front with nice fancy light. If you bring the picture after, you will see a big difference. Yeah, that's the work we did.
Now, in the rear, you're putting in a box freezer outside?
Yes.
And how big is that? Let me see. I probably find it on here.
Take them. How many inches is that?
Okay, I have right here. Yeah, just look. Here is the survey superimposed on the architectural plans. So you can see we have the existing 3-story building. Now, behind the 3-story building, it's only one floor where the restaurant continues, or whatever the first floor space is, continues. And on the top of the rear story is going to be the new flue. And would I be correct, Tony, in saying that you're not going to see the flue from the street?
Correct.
No chimneys visible from the street?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so now you have the freezer in the rear. Can you tell us just a little bit about anything else you've added to the interior?
Okay. Excuse me. It's gonna be like standard kitchen, and it's like tables and fridges inside the kitchen, and the pizza station with a countertop for slices, and like 20 to 25 persons maximum.
Okay. And how many tables would you said?
Like, we talk about around 4 tables.
4 or 5 tables, 25
yeah.
people maximum seating.
All right, so 4 or 5 tables, about 4 to 6 people on the table.
That's allowed in category 2?
Uh,
Category 2 was no seating.
category 1 is no hood. You know, if you give me 1 second, I can.
Category 2 is hood, no seating, no booze, full cooking allowed.
I think it's
that was my understanding.
If you give me a minute, I could actually pull up. I had the discussion with this.
That's fine. I don't know that that's the primary issue. I think the primary issue that we're going to have with is not, again, and I don't want to come across as unsympathetic. I am very sympathetic to this business. I think the fire was a travesty. I thought everything was cool at Jersey and Columbus, but clearly that's not the case from what I'm hearing you guys talk about, and I feel for you on this. The biggest concern that I've heard from members of the community is that this is Second Street. This is a secondary street. This is not Brunswick. This is not Newark. This cannot handle the type of traffic that currently sits outside, parked in the bike lanes, double parked constantly out in front on Christopher Columbus Avenue. You're right next to Diesel and Dukes. This is going to be a snarling traffic nightmare. And I'm just saying this because I don't hear anyone else saying it, but they've all said it to me ahead of time. So I'm saying it now. That to me is going to be the primary problem with having a business like this outside of the restaurant overlay. The restaurant overlay goes up Newark Avenue. It bites the corner where Diesel and Dukes is, but it does not include secondary side streets like this one. I'm sorry, I promised to be Switzerland on this, but I'm not hearing anyone speak. And I've heard a lot of people talk to me about these concerns. So I'm putting it out there. This is a major problem.
Hey, Eric, but there already is a couple restaurants, you know, along on these paths, right?
Which use electric bikes to deliver, which don't have cars. Look at El Ranchero as an example.
Yeah,
You'll never see a double parked car out front. You don't see anybody. There's no Grubhub. There's no Uber Eats. They use their family and electric bicycles to do all their deliveries. They have zero effect on the traffic. And by the way, they're closed by 9 p.m.
Right.
Well,
we close at 10. We obviously on a street like that, we're not going to have people double park over there. The Uber drivers and the Grubhub drivers, most of them use bikes now anyway. They just pull. I mean, you see them all over the city. They kind of just pull up on your sidewalk. They drop the bike, they park the bike, they run in, they grab what they have to grab, and they run back out. So, that's what we plan on. We plan on doing it just like everybody else does. We're just going to have the Uber drivers and the Grubhub drivers deliver on their bikes. I mean, some of them have cars, but I don't see that being any different than Uber drivers or Grubhub drivers like anywhere else in the city. I mean, we're not going to have like cars lined up down the street. That's it's not practical. The street can't handle that. So there's we would be cognizant of that and aware of that and make sure that's not an issue.
But you currently have cars lined up and down the street around the store, so I'm not sure how this would be.
I guess.
Sorry, which store has cars lined up?
I guess Rob is echoing my comment, which would. It sounds like Tony's talking about a sort of a change in the delivery. Right.
Currently, we use some of our own drivers, but I mean, if there's nowhere, we're going to have to switch over and we're going to have to use the Ubers, and the Uber uses their own vehicles now. You're not allowed to. We're going to have to let the Grubhub drivers take our Grubhub deliveries, and that should eliminate the problem because right now, the Grubhub drivers, I mean, 90% of them are on bikes. Once in a while, they come in a car, but most of them are all on bikes now. I mean, the car thing it's fading away. No one really uses the cars anymore. All of these delivery services, I mean, you guys see them all over the city. Everyone's on a bike. Nobody really takes the cars. You get some cars, some of the Uber drivers and the Grubhub, they have cars, but not most of them nowadays. They're all on bikes. So, we'd be switching over to using their drivers. So we don't, because we, like you just said, I mean, that's a problem for us too. There's no way, no place to park. So we can't, won't be efficient for us to run our business that way anyway, if we moved our location over there. So we would have to their drivers,
Hey, Eric, this is Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, so Tony, I live 2 doors down and have been living there for about 24 years. I just can't see this working at all. For somebody that owns a commercial space, we've had many offers to do similar things with changing variances. I personally wouldn't do it because it would really influence the neighborhood in a very bad way. So I strongly disagree with this move. I just think it's going to cause major problems on 2nd Street. If you've ever been there, like I said, I've been there for 24 years, 23 years. It's going to be a nightmare. So
How
I
do
can't.
you guys manage with Diesel and Duke on the corner, and there's another restaurant on 2nd.
Yeah, not great. Not great. It has not been great. So.
Rob, you're speaking specifically about Diesel and Dukes. What I was talking about earlier is the other restaurant on 2nd, which is El Ranchero, which has
Right,
literally
that's down the block.
zero effect on the neighborhood. They use their family. It's 100% bicycles. I have not once seen a car double parked.
Yeah, I'm talking about that corner. And
yeah.
Specifically that corner. It's a recipe for disaster. So I can't disagree with this enough.
Well, I know there's a lot of traffic on that corner because there's construction all over the city now. So that's a bad corner with or without a restaurant being there for delivery service. And like I said, if we switch over, like most of our deliveries now are with the bikes anyway, because Uber's most of our deliveries. And you can sit here in front of our store and you'll see these guys. There's a guy pulling up right now. If you guys want, I'll show you. He's pulling up on a bike. He'll park the bike, he'll run in, he'll get the food, and he'll leave. If you guys can see, it's right now.
Yep, we're seeing that, Tony.
That's, I'm going to open a window so you can see it better. I'm standing in the car. He parks the bike, he goes in, he gets the food, and that's it. And that's how we're going to run it over there. We're going to switch over to their drivers, and the bikes really they're really not in the street. When they pull up to the restaurant, they come right on the sidewalk. And they're in and out really quick because they don't come until the food is ready. When the food is ready, you hit the thing on the tablet to let them know it's ready. Then they come. So it's like they're like just lined up down the street waiting.
Yeah, no.
Hey, look,
No.
I think this, guys, look, as a neighborhood, we got to ask ourselves this. And I don't mean to be the opposition here because I don't know Tony or his partner. But if we can approve the pile driving on 2nd Street, if we can even have the Turnpike Authority think in their insane minds to extend the Turnpike, if that's even going to happen, and all the other madness, construction, and insane building here, I got to say, how can we deny this guy to have his pizzeria if he's going to agree to the terms of not creating a traffic jam, right? I don't see how we could do, that's just my opinion,
Look, guys,
No, it's fair, Lou, and that's what we want to hear. We just want to hear what people have to say.
I think, look, as long as the guy is going to abide by as long as the guy's not going to have like 10 cars out there, because then if he does, then those cars are going to get ticketed and then he needs to get a warning. But if he's going to abide by the rules and he's going to play by the rules, I don't see how we could stop a guy from putting a pizzeria that's zoned to do so in his own property.
Well, it isn't. That's the issue.
It's not zoned to do so.
Well, it's
okay.
It's
All
not
right.
zoned for the people. Just one thing on the restaurants. I apologize for interrupting. I found the section where it explains what restaurants do. The cafe is the category one, which is allowed, where without substantial delivery service, with no drive-through or drive-in or service in the vehicles. But that does include seating at a table, a bar, or wherever where the meal is consumed. This is a category 2 that contemplates substantial drive-through. Can have indoor seating, but it's limited. And that includes delivery, substantial delivery or self-service. And let me see.
Got it. So it's
actually a cafe does. Wait, sorry. I just found cafe is also category 2, which allows for substantial carry service, delivery service. Except for the difference is there's no commercial kitchen or ventilation.
Correct. Right.
So, right.
that wouldn't work for you guys because you need a full hood. So you need the category 2. The category, the one you were just describing is like in a void coffee shop. It's pastries. There's no hood. There's no full cooking. So this would be, and I apologize that that's on me. I was under the understanding there's no seating, but it's minimal. It's primarily counter service and takeout, but there is some seating allowed. Is that what I'm understanding you saying, Joe?
Yes, it is. I think, I'm going to send the statute over to everyone.
Oh, it's fine. I'll ping Tanya on it.
Um,
I'll
yeah,
talk to planning.
because it says,
Hey,
which-
Thomas, sorry to interrupt. Tom, if you haven't seen my email, I'm respectfully accepting your request to punt. And I'm very sorry I've had you sit here all evening.
No. It's like I said in my response, and
Oh, I
planning
didn't-
board makes it a late night. So I'm here. So if you'd like me to stick around, I can.
Oh,
But it's
no.
up to you guys.
I just saw your face there, and I just wanted you to know you're absolutely welcome to stay and listen to the spirited conversation, but I don't anticipate at all that we're going to get to you next.
That's fine. That's
But
fine.
We love
Just let
having
me know
you,
what the next date
and
is.
I always like to see you. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Sorry,
okay,
Joe,
so
back to
I
you, my friend.
apologize. It's a category 1. I don't think is contemplated, but that's like a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah, Cat 1 is you can have seating, you can have booze, you can have the whole thing, and you sure as shit can't have, have that on 2nd Street.
Right.
Can anybody hear me?
One more time, Jim.
No, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell no. No. You can't do this on 2nd Street. That's it.
All right, I'm going to take a turn and say there's a bunch of bikes, not a bunch of cars. Who doesn't want pizza near them? I live on 2nd Street, down the street from that. Do you guys think you can successfully run a business there without any other issues? Like, who am I to complain? But also, for the record, I support all the construction going on around here too, because we live in a city and you want stuff around. And one of those things is going to be a pizza place. What I don't want around though is a bunch of cars, because I'm trying to walk safely. But there's gonna be a bunch of bike delivery. Awesome. I look forward to having more pizza in the neighborhood.
Oh, it turns out you're the guy that tries to keep people from getting run over by cars. So makes sense, Rob. Thank you.
I am pro pizza, anti getting hit by the car.
And guys, I completely understand everyone's concern with the cars. We're looking to add to the community. We're not looking to cause problems in the neighborhood. We're looking to be there for a long time. We're not looking to make enemies or create problems on our block. We've been downtown now for about 12 years now.
No, I know you have. Let me
And,
ask.
we have a good rapport with our customers. We treat everyone fair. We're not going to come there and try to mess up the neighborhood. I mean, that's the furthest thing from our minds. We want to add to the community. We don't want to take away.
Let me ask you.
We'll abide by any rules you guys want to set up for us. We're not trying to create traffic jams on the block. We're not trying to create inconveniences for anyone. We just want to try to operate our business. That's all. And, we would love your support. We would love everyone to come down and support us. We're a neighborhood place. We're a neighborhood institution. I had my spot in Bayonne 20 years. I mean, we're a neighborhood institution over there. We look to add to the community. We do a lot of things for the community. We're not bad guys. I mean, we'll make sure there's no car problems. I mean, that's my word.
Let me ask you a couple of quick operational questions, if you don't mind. Okay, so we talked vehicular traffic. You've heard the comments on that. Let's talk a little bit of.
And I'm sympathetic.
No, I know. I hear you. Let's talk a little. I want to get into a little bit of, and I know we're running over, but if you just forgive me and let us go until 9:10. So let's do 6 minutes more of this spirited conversation. I want to get into a little bit of the specifics on the exhaust, but that's going to be the second question. The first question is operationally relative to refuse. Presumably you would store refuse where? In the back and bring it out under special collections, like I
No.
believe Diesel and Dukes does, or how do you plan on doing that?
I don't know how Diesel and Dukes does it, but we're gonna have garbage pickup every single day, so we
There
don't
you
have.
go. That's what I meant, Tony. Special collections, like you're not hanging out for Monday and Thursday, like the rest of us residential folks.
We have a private company, IWS, and we're gonna have pickup every single day.
Fair.
Gonna
And
pay to make sure we keep everything nice and clean.
so let me ask this, Tony, when I talked to the other Tony and Joe in the preliminary discussion that we had before inviting you to this meeting, it was my understanding that the previous prep kitchen, which again was prepping food for like a food cart in Journal Square, they had exhaust, they had approvals. I believe they had, and it might have been belts and suspenders, but there was an exterior system of ductwork. Now, I know that when I look in the alley between the building that you have, your building where you fix the facade, if I look in that alley and I look up, I can see there's a chimney there on that side, like right on the alley side. So my hunch is that there is a hood, there is an exhaust shaft that runs up through the interior of the building. It is not exterior to the building, and it punches out onto the roof, and it appears to go, call it 3 to 4 feet above the level of the roof. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate. The infrastructure is already there. All we have to do is put the actual hood on the inside of the place and hook up to where the ventilation is already in place.
And do you need an ANSEL system or any other fire suppression to get that up and running?
Yep. And that will all be done to code.
Got it. And that's not there now.
That is not there now because what was inside, it was there, that what was inside was taken down and renovated for the space that's there now. But the infrastructure is all there for, but we have to look into it.
That's what I thought. All right, listen, it's getting late. What's your timing, man?
Hey, Eric, sorry, one more question.
No, go ahead, Rob.
Where's the garbage going to be kept? Is it kept in the alleyway?
We're going to keep it, I'm going to check behind, either outside the back door or in the basement. We'd rather keep it outside. And again, since we're taking it out every day, it's not going to be a lot of trash because it's not going to be sitting for a few days. You know what I mean? It's just one day's worth of trash. So we'll probably have the proper trash containers outside the back of the store in the backyard. And then at the end of the night, when we close, we'll bring it through and set it out on the street. Our company will pick it up at night. And in the morning, we'll put the containers back in the yard. And again, we're going to keep everything nice and clean. There shouldn't be any odor issues because, like I said, every day it's going to be picked up privately, and that shouldn't be an issue.
Hey, Tony, quick question. Maybe just jump in, Eric, before you close up. Two things. What time does that garbage truck come and collect the garbage? Is it like at 10 o'clock at night? Is it 1 o'clock in the morning? I got one over by me on 3rd Street. You know, they show up at like 12:30, midnight, 1 o'clock. That's one question. And then the second question is, I just want to highlight again, you know, we all live on this side of the village. We come down on Monmouth. It's a left turn onto 2nd to get back here, right? Everybody has to come in the same way. And that street, 2nd Street, is a single lane. So if you get one car, whether it's your delivery guy who double parks, or you have people who come to pick up their food and double park, it's going to back up the traffic on Monmouth Street that's trying to make the left onto 2nd. And I'll just say from personal experience, I commute home from Grove Street the past couple of years, and I would take the bike lane home, and every night between 5 and 7, cars would double park, on Columbus in front of your store in the bike lane. And I used to have to drive out the bicycle out into the thing. And now I don't know if those were people who were picking up or those are people, your delivery people. So I guess, we're all trying to vet this. You heard the reservations. I mean, are you guaranteeing, not that maybe, I'm not saying it's going to change people's mind, but you're going to guarantee you're not going to use cars? Because a single delivery guy who hops out that goes into your store is going to cause that back lane to back up. And the question is, how many people come to pick up from your store based on your years of experience who are driving there to pick up the food? There's just no space on 2nd Street to handle that.
I understand. Well, we're going to use the bikes. So, I mean, as far as the cars and delivery guys, that shouldn't be an issue. As far as people picking up, I mean, that can happen anywhere in any street in Jersey City when a delivery driver stops to deliver food to someone's home, for example. Not saying there's a business on that street. Sometimes delivery guys, not mine, I'm just saying any delivery guy, any Uber driver picking up a person, not even handling food. Sometimes they do that. They pull over to the side of the road. That is something nobody has any control over. I mean, we're going to try to limit that as much as we can because we're not going to use cars for drivers, and we're going to be using the Uber Eats drivers, the Grubhub drivers, those drivers. The majority of them, they're all on bikes nowadays. No one uses the cars anymore. First of all, the gas is way too high. Secondly, the problem is getting around. So the majority of these drivers, they're all on bikes now.
There's no way you
Right.
can control that. No.
Well, again, that can happen on any street. People pull over to let somebody out of the car. Uber drivers pull over to let somebody out of the car. I mean, that's, you can't control every Uber driver, every taxi cab, every, people pull over. They pull over to let people in and out of their cars.
Yeah, no, but Tony, the difference
not
is
every
again,
day, not every time
yeah,
on Second Street.
I mean, I want to be clear. I mean, we'd like to support the business. The difficulty is, it's not zoned for this business on that location. And the concern is because that's the left turn in. If you got, I hear what you're saying about someone dropping stuff off, but that's out somewhere. You're going to have the people constantly picking up. So it's going to be repetitive every day through your delivery hours. And, that corner and the turn is just a real serious traffic issue for those of us who live over here. And I'm not even going to, I mean, the people who live right on the block, within the couple of doors each way, they purchased their homes, that you're not supposed to have a restaurant in there. And if they did that and they weren't, contemplating the effect of what the restaurant's going to do, whether it's, vermin or whatever else comes in the truck and the pickups, again, it's just the community has those concerns. And I would love to support your business somewhere where we're zoned that way. I just have some serious reservations about it, as others have echoed here.
Right. And in addition to the vehicles, guys, I think we need some like bike parking or something towards the curb of the sidewalk, because I have like small babies, big strollers. The streets are narrow as is. And if there are like bikes parked in there, I won't be able to get through with the strollers and babies.
Well, I'm usually the bikes, when they come to pick up the food, they put it off to the side, close to the curb is where they usually put it. They're not like across the street blocking the pedestrian walkway. They're not stopping people from walking by. So, I mean, most of the drivers, I've never seen drivers on their bikes, like, line them up where they're blocking people from walking down the street. So, we can put some sign, we can definitely put some signage, make sure you're letting people know to make sure they keep the street clear, the sidewalk clear when they park their bikes. I mean, that's something we can definitely do. I mean, as far as like, there are restaurants and cafes and bakeries on streets like that all over Jersey City. So I don't, I mean, they seem to get along fine with their neighbors, and we're looking to do the same thing. And we're not trying to, I mean, I don't see any difference between Second Street and any other street where there are restaurants and cafes on it. So, I don't know how that then the other street. And I'm just, I'm being honest. I don't see how that's, it's all over the city. The restaurants.
Appreciate what you're saying, Tony. Joe, what's your timing? I feel like we need to, vet this a little further with the community. I understand everything that Tony's saying, and I appreciate the sentiment of being a good community neighbor. I can tell you there are lots of bad actors in this city, and so I appreciate everything he's saying. I just want to know, like, what are you looking to go in front of the board?
Well, I would defer to Tony on that, but something also occurred to me just looking at these pictures, and there, and I get Tony to confirm, but there's an alleyway next to our building, between the building to the right, and I was just wondering, could you make a place to put the bike there, or you put at least one bike and get it out of the way when you're doing deliveries? there's probably some kind of, it's probably something.
I do think we need to table this for tonight, and I would like to ask you guys respectfully if we could continue the conversation, because I think, Joe, that there are ideas like that are worth pursuing. I think that's probably too narrow, and Tony knows the business. Like those guys, they want to pull up, they want to park the bike, they don't want to park it in a location that isn't facing in the direction that they're going to be heading out, right? But yeah, there is an alleyway there. It used to be a nightmare. It's been cleaned up, and we of course appreciate that. We appreciate the cleaned up facade. I love the fact that I'm not walking by and looking into, a building that has garage doors that are opened and clear bins of raw chicken sitting on the floor, which I used to see all the time in that prep kitchen. So yeah, look, I mean, I feel like we need to have a little bit further discussion on this, and I would like to respectfully ask, can we, have a follow-up conversation on this, Joe and Tony, so we can sort of figure out what's the best way forward here?
Sure, and we're willing to do whatever needs to be done. We want to work with you guys. We want to make this place as neighborhood friendly as it possibly can be. And again, we want to add to the community. We're not trying to cause traffic jams, and it's our neighborhood too.
Yeah.
We're not trying to traffic jams in our own neighborhood, and we don't want our neighbors mad at us. We want our neighbors to
Nobody wants that. All right. I'm going to put a pin in it tonight. I want to say thank you to Joe, Tony, to Rob, to James, and to everyone else that stayed with us tonight. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
All right, everybody. To be continued. All right. Enjoy your evening.
Yep.
And happy spring.
Yes.
Thanks all.
Yeah, take care.
All right. Bye.